Now that you're completing stages 1 and 2 of the EBP, we're going to take a more in-depth look at stage 3. This is where you select an intervention that you feel best matches the strengths and needs of your case study learner. But before we begin, we want to ensure that you are set up for success. To facilitate this, please pause and make sure that you are cognitively engaged, that you have your EBP infographic handy, and that you have your EBP commentary open to review. We also encourage you to have a place where you can take notes. So let's begin by reviewing that infographic that you can find on ReggieNet under EBP Documents. The section we're going to take a look at is for Stage 3, the intervention selection. We're going to talk a little bit more about the different items that you're going to include, but I want to draw your attention to the products that you will ultimately be submitting with Stage 3. You're going to submit your commentary, any artifacts that you develop or that come with the intervention that you've selected, and you're going to deliver a presentation during module. The assessment rubrics that align with Stage 3 of the EBP commentary are 5, 6, and 7. Additionally, there is a presentation rubric that you can also find on ReggieNet under EBP Documents. Your presentation will be scored in module using the case study and the intervention that you have selected. Once you have completed Stage 3, additional case study intervention information will be released to you so that you are able to complete Stage 4. So let's take a look at the steps that you need to complete for Stage 3 of the EBP process. You have your EBP case study learner and you have completed your Riot ISIL and you've answered those assessment questions. Now it is time for you to select an appropriate intervention that you feel would be most appropriate for your case study learner. In addition to choosing an intervention, you are going to provide or create appropriate materials that will be necessary to complete the intervention. You will also provide or create data collection tools that will allow you to collect data over the course of your chosen intervention. Next, you will complete the Stage 3 commentary. We also ask that you create and share a presentation about the intervention that you selected, and you'll also share a virtual handout with members of the class. Let's take a look at the actual prompts under Stage 3, Part A, the plan. So the first prompt asks for you to describe the intervention that you either created or selected. It's important here to note that here you should be explaining your intervention in your own words. So don't merely copy and paste from a website or from an intervention manual. You should be able to explain in your own words the criteria of your intervention. The next prompt asks, how does the intervention address an IEP goal? Provide some strengths and needs of the case study learner. Here we just have a note for you to ensure that you do discuss both strengths and needs. I think sometimes students, when they're going through the Riot ISIL process, they have really emphasized areas of need and answering those assessment questions and sometimes forget to include the strengths. You may want to bold both strengths and needs in your sentences so that we are clear to see that you have included both strengths and needs of your case study learner. The third prompt says to identify the resources used to design your intervention and also include an APA citation. Justify this connection to research and theory. Remember to include references to the article that support the use of the intervention that match your case study learner. So when choosing your intervention, you are going to make sure that this intervention has been proven to be effective with learners that are similar in terms of their disability type, their age level, strengths, and needs as your case study learner. You'll find an article. You can use Milner or Google Scholar, but it should be a peer-reviewed research article that you are going to use for your APA citation. Again, you're not just going to include the citation, but you're going to justify why does this article connect with the intervention and the learner that you have chosen. You're going to use a strategy called the CER. So when you make a claim, first you provide the evidence as to why this has been proven to be effective, and then you will provide your rationale as to why you feel this is effective for your particular case study learner. Next, you're going to think about how would you plan to collect data. Explain the process and tool here. You'll attach any data collection tools as well. This is really important where you want to describe in enough detail that I would be able to conduct this intervention and collect data the same way in which you would plan to carry it out. Also include a chart that you would use for progress monitoring. Finally, you're going to write an instructional objective with mastery component that matches the intervention. So what does it mean to include a mastery component? Thinking of the number of days that you're going to complete your intervention, where is it that you expect your learner to be at the end of that intervention? So for an example, at the end of 5 days, I would expect my learner to be at X place in the intervention. You would explain that there. Now we're moving into part B, implementation. Provide a clear description of how you would implement the EBP. Provide a bulleted list along with how you would teach the intervention to your learner. This should include full details for what an intervention session would look like. Consider this stranger test. I should be able to read it, and I should be able to complete a session in the same way that you would. How would you use feedback, reinforcement to support learning? How does it match the case study's learner's strengths and needs? Make sure here that you're responding to both feedback and reinforcement, as well as strengths and needs. Next, what supports and environmental modifications did you consider for the case study learner? Connect back to your Riot ISIL and how were these designed to impact learning? Finally, explain how you would involve your own learner in monitoring their own progress. And now for the final stage of EBP Stage 3, the presentation. We ask that each of you create an electronic presentation and handout that can be shared digitally with your classmates. The purpose of this is to support you during your student teaching semester or even in your first years of teaching as an assortment of different interventions that you can add to your bag of tricks that may be appropriate for you to use in the future. Here's what you need to include in your presentation. It will be an electronic presentation using PowerPoint, Prezi, Smart Notebook, or even Canva. Make sure you include your title and your name, a description of the learner goal that connects to your case study learner. Discuss the area of concern. Was it behavior or academic? Then the description of your evidence-based practice, as well as the intervention steps that you would have used to implement. You'll also discuss your data collection and reinforcement data collection tools, along with the rationale for the choice of the intervention that you selected. Again, you'll have a handout that you create with all of this information summarized for your audience members. If you have any questions, please reach out and let us know.